There was a link that came out, but I joined on Zoom.
Yeah, no, that's right. But that wasn't the YouTube link yet, unless Penny
Oh,
already found it.
Yes, she did send the YouTube link
Oh,
as well.
she's ahead of me. Oh, good for her.
Believe. Pretty sure she did.
She is on the
oh,
ball.
I thought she did.
Yeah, my wife was stuck at she went to a massage and then they wanted her to do chiropractor, so she snuck it in and I got stuck. Since my son still doesn't have, since my son took Michelle's car, which is not Michelle's car, it's the auto body shop's car at the moment. But
Which, so are you driving that Honda?
no, well, no one had a Honda, but Michelle had a Nissan. But that's the one that Dustin crashed into antelopes.
Yeah, no, but I wondered if no, I meant as a courtesy car.
It's a Chev. It's an Impala.
Oh, there was a Honda in the driveway the other day at the church.
Well, that might have been Emmeline. No, that would have been the Malibu. That was the one I rented from Enterprise. Or SGI rented, I should say.
Doesn't matter.
No, but there's been no Honda. Whatever you want, Alice, there's been no Honda. So if there's a Honda at the church, someone else is parking in my spot, which is absolutely fine. I know that on Mondays, oftentimes, if the counselor lady is in, she will park there. I wonder if she has a Honda. That might be...
The who?
The counseling lady.
Oh, okay.
And she often uses Monday, so that was probably
Vicky.
her. Yeah, Vicky, thank you.
I didn't know she still came.
She didn't for quite a while. She just resumed, I think. So. Oh, there we go. How are things at the Elias household, Mr. and Mr. As I called you on Sunday, Mr. and Mrs. Alice?
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Elias Alice, I think I said.
Yeah, fine.
And how's things at Chez Marie?
Chez Marie? Where do you get the Chez?
Well, House of Marie. It's
French.
El Francais. En Francais.
Oh, no. You got to speak Low German, and I can't even do that anymore.
How do you say someone's house? How do you say the penner's house?
Pana.
Yeah, Panna over at the Panner House.
Pana House, I believe.
Bipanash.
What did you say, Alice?
Bipanash.
Ipanash.
Okay. Like B is by. And often you just say, often just say
by the Penners. Name. Okay, well, that makes sense.
The same as you said, Chez Marie's.
Very good.
No, everything is, I don't know, I guess okay.
Good. Hunky dory.
Well, I don't know if hunky dory, but it's okay.
Well, today for the morning group, since they were technically 2 sessions ahead after they finished this morning, they did 2nd and 3rd John last week, and then we did Nahum. That was a bundle of fun. So just warning you.
You did the whole book of Nahum?
Yeah, it's only 3 chapters.
What?
It's a bit of an adventure, that book. Anyways, just warning you. All right. Well, that should be enough time for YouTubers to get on. It would have been Vicky's. Penny chimed in on YouTube. It would have been Vicky. So I was right? There it is. Yeah, we figured that out.
Which car hit the deer?
Well, the Juke. So Dustin is working in Morse, where he delivers meat for the custom meat guy.
Which custom meat guy?
Schultz Country Ranch Country. Schultz Ranch Country Meats. So just between Herbert and Morris, just before he got to work, these deer come popping out of the ditch, and the ditch is very low there, so he never would have seen them. And he took out 2 of them.
Oh.
But we got it towed back to town because the radiator was busted, so we got it towed back to town in Clawson and SGI. We managed to get it fixed. SGI was going to write it off, but it was close enough that we talked him into fixing it. So, because I started looking at prices for equivalent vehicles, and I didn't want to have to get a car loan again. So we're going to get it fixed. So
When Carmen was going to Miller College of the Bible, she hit a deer coming home one Friday. Sunday night, when I was taking her back because we were keeping the car in town to take it to SGI, I hit a deer with our van. So we took two vehicles in. We asked, and Arnold said something to the guy about, like, does this alarm you? And he said, no. He said, if you live in southern Saskatchewan, you're going to hit a deer eventually.
Yep. And
you do any highway driving.
And Dustin almost hit one, I think, last night again, or night before coming back from Elise's place with my car. There would have been a double whammy, but thankfully he missed it.
Yeah,
He says he's all stressed out the whole time he's driving now. He's just looking for deer and antelope.
There is one little space there where they're bad on that number 4 highway.
Indeed. All right, let's get at her. Supposedly 3 concurrent viewers on YouTube, so who knows who's there. Well, we'll see. All right, so we're going to
I think Doreen Martins is one of them.
Okay, good. Usually she sends me a note. All right, 2 John.
Oh. Chapter
0. There's no chapters in 2 John. It is a chapterless book.
The Bible Gateway made me put the chapter in. It wouldn't bring it up.
Oh, it didn't like that? It didn't like that? Oh, that's interesting. Actually, let me try that. So if I put 2 John...
Well, Bible Gateway, I think, has been having some trouble.
Well, it does say results, book of 2 John, and then it says, sorry, we couldn't find the results. So it's funny. It gives you a result of 2 John.
Oh, well, whatever. So then I typed in 2 John 1.
And then it takes you right there. Yeah, you're right. I'm doing that exact thing on the screen. Oh, there you go. Yeah. It just makes you click once. But yeah, it doesn't like it when there's no chapters. Computers don't like it when there's no information.
But Bible Gateway has been having some problems with
their
new setup, yes.
Oh, no, you're right. They did make a new design, and I did notice that. It hasn't bothered me, I have to confess. But
well, I've been using their chronological, so I had to go back to the classic site.
Oh,
so now my calendar is out of whack because as you read it, it clicks it highlights the ones you've read.
Right.
So this morning I was able to get into the regular site. So whatever.
Unintended consequences. That's exactly what that is. You fix one thing and all of a sudden you realize you broke something else. All right, let's get at her. This morning we spent at least 25 minutes remembering where all the Safeways were. So that was an interesting discussion.
Where all the what?
Safeways. Safeways moved like 4 times in this town.
Oh.
So apparently they had a downtown location. They had where PharmaSafe is now location, and they were in also where Rexall Drugs is now location.
Yeah, I remember them all.
There you go. And then of course now at the mall.
Where Rexall Drugs is?
Yep.
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, I was there for a while.
And somewhere downtown-ish, I forget exactly where, but on the first block somewhere.
Was it the first or was it the second? I think it was the second.
Second block of what?
Well, on Central Avenue, I think it was the second block.
It wasn't the first.
No, I don't think either it was the first. It was the second.
It wouldn't be where Home Hardware is now.
No. Home Hardware it would be a little bit further south from that. It would probably be maybe where that tanning thing is.
Okay.
I don't think it was a tanning building. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But
see, now we can spend 25 minutes remembering we're safe.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a long time ago.
Yepers. Yeah. No.
Well, and you know what? One day you were talking about the co-op and the cafeteria. And I said to Arnold, oh my goodness, he's thinking about the mall cafeteria. And my mind had immediately gone to the little upstairs, Marie.
Yeah.
The old Cooper's store.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was Cooper's and then it became Co-op, which is odd because they have the same first 4 letters.
Yeah, I think it was called Cooper's. Well, it was. I know that.
Interesting.
And the best part of it was they used to have a machine there that if you bought a new pair of shoes, you would put your feet into this machine and it would tell you if those shoes were the right size for you or not. Do you remember that, Alice?
No, I don't remember that. I remember liking the Mickey Mouse chairs that the kids could sit in when they were being fitted.
Oh. Yeah, that's right. They had those too.
Interesting. What, there's a name. Those foot measuring devices have a name, and it's a long name, but something device.
So if they had it way back then,
I gotta look it up.
why wouldn't they have them now?
I don't know.
Because it probably was a scam.
No. Apparently, you could see. Let's say I had a new pair of shoes on, and then the clerk, or I remember my mom looking, because the clerk would say, "Come and look," and they could see exactly where your toes were in that shoe.
It's probably an X-ray machine. It probably was poisoning people.
I bet you that's why they don't use it now, because it was an X-ray. You beat me to it, Joel.
A Brannick device. I knew that the foot measuring thing is called a Brannick device.
Okay.
That's a piece of trivia for you. Well, there we go. We wandered off into weirdness too. Okay, good. So 2 John, 3 John, both dealing with very similar things that we did in 1 John, which I preached through, but I've decided that it's 2 John and 3 John are pretty repeaty. So we're just going to do 2nd and 3rd John. So the letter. What am I reading from? Must not be the NIV. So the New Living Translation starts off, this letter is from John the elder. But that's not what it says. It says the letter starts with the elder. That's all it says. Say hi, Carol. Hi, Beth. Probably, yeah. We're getting things ready for Sunday. Anyways, all the text says is the elder. That's it. So then people look at it and go, does he mean it's to the elder or is it from the elder? They pretty much come to the conclusion that it's from the elder. So John is referring to himself as the elder. The new. Go ahead.
My Bible says the elderly elder.
Okay, well that's adding a little. Well, and then probably again in the Greek word, there's a hint that it's talking about not just an elder, but someone who's a senior elder. So that could be. Anyways, the elder. So that's all it says. To the chosen lady. So the elder and then to, which so it's from and to. The chosen lady by God, and to her children, whom I love in the truth. Not I only, but also all who know the truth, because of the truth which lives in us and will be with us forever. Okay, so here's a quick question. Who's this lady? Don't look at your notes.
I don't think we know, do we?
We have a pretty good idea.
Well, my Bible has in brackets, should I say?
Okay, they're cheating left, right, and center. Okay, what is it?
Cyria. Syria? I don't know. It says chosen lady, Cyria, and her children.
I wonder what that means, but it's not.
That's what
Syria?
Yeah. Is that a Greek word?
Now you got me there. I mean,
I don't know.
We understand this is talking to the church.
Oh, I actually always thought it was written to somebody specific in the church.
Particular lady, but now where did you get Cyria?
Yeah. My Bible says the elderly elder, and then of the church addresses this letter to the elect chosen lady, Cyria, and her children, whom I truly love. And not only I, but also all who are progressively learning to recognize and know and understand the truth.
Yeah. Again, most people understand it as the church and the church people. But some people but again, this is up for debate. So the margin of the Revised Version turns Korea into a proper name, Kariah or Saraya in John's day. So, yeah. So there's some debate over that. But again, most people, including me, I think, when you look at the context, pretty much mean it's a church. Why do they call ships? What do they call ships her?
Beats me.
What's that?
Beats me.
And why do they call airplanes lady? Like what do they call them? Like her? They always mention it as she or her in English. And if you have a computer, it has a motherboard inside. All for the same reason. Anybody want to take a shot at it? Because any vessel or any device that holds other child parts or children or holds people in them becomes, in general, a female. So the motherboard in your computer literally has daughter cards put in. That's what they're called. Like when you add back in the old days, you used to add a modem, and then they used to add a video card, and then you used to add a Ethernet adapter. These are all things that were called daughter cards into the motherboard. So, and ships, of course, hold people, and airplanes hold people, so they're almost always referred to as female. So that's the logic behind saying that this is probably him mentioning the church and the people of the church. So there you have it. But if it turned out to be a real person, that would be okay too.
When you see something named, have you ever seen it by a man's name? It's always a woman's name.
Well, for vessels and stuff, it's
everything.
Yeah.
When I worked at Volston, we had beds. Those beds all had women's names on them.
Oh well, but those are names given by the manufacturers.
I know, but still.
But I don't refer to my bed as a her.
Why do they have a woman's name on it?
Well,
why couldn't the bed?
Because it's marketing, Marie. What do you put Bob on your bed? It's not going to work.
Well, they had Heather on the bed.
Heather. Oh, see, that's See, Heather is also flowers. No, that's marketing there. But like vehicles, or almost, there she goes, my vehicle. It's always
Yeah, it's always a lady.
But yeah, I think beds don't have we don't use her with a bed. They get it. Ships get it too, but they often get referred to as, okay, never. You guys really got me sidetracked. Okay, here we go. Verse 2, because which lives in us and will be with us forever. Okay, so again, strong reference to this idea that there is truth, and that truth is also Jesus, and he's living with us. Truth is huge because of the fact that truth needs to be, otherwise life doesn't make sense. If you don't actually have truth, life doesn't make sense. And you don't have the truth of Jesus, I also would submit that life doesn't make sense, even if you do live in swift current. All right, grace, mercy, and peace from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Father, Son, will be with us in truth and love. So his greeting also continues to say, focusing on the truth. Okay. It has given me great joy to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as the Father commanded. And now, dear lady, I am not writing you a new command, but one we have had from the beginning. I ask that we love one another. And this is love, that we walk in obedience to his commands. Now, I love that verse. And this is love, because we know that there's another verse that sounds just like it. And it says, and this is love, that we love our neighbor. Remember those ones? But here, John switches it up a little bit, and this is love, that we walk in obedience to his commands. There's a good verse to share with folks. Real love obeys. As you have heard from the beginning, his command is that you walk in love. So the phrase walk in love and walk in obedience are synonymous in the Christian life. Now, that's a little bit... harsh is not the right word I'm looking for. That's a little bit demanding, is it not? For love? Can you say that about love? Now, why does he say this? 7. I say this because many deceivers who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. Okay, so there's that same old problem. The Gnostics were saying, hey, Jesus Christ never came as a person. He was always just a spiritual being. He was always just a spirit person. He didn't really die on the cross either, because that would be bad. that those who deny that Jesus Christ, do not acknowledge that Jesus Christ is coming in flesh, have gone out into the world. Any such person is the deceiver and the Antichrist, or the anti-Messiah, if you want to put it another way. Watch out that you do not lose what we have worked for, but that you may be fully rewarded fully. Anyone who runs ahead and does not continue in the teaching of Christ does not have God. What? Anyone who runs ahead. What is it? Why would he say runs ahead? Isn't that a good thing to sort of run ahead a little bit?
Not if you make up your own stuff as you're going.
And of course, the threat with running ahead is that what? When my kids would be hiking with us and they would run too far ahead, I would yell, no, you don't go too far ahead. Why would I say that?
You can get lost.
You can get lost. That's right. You can take a wrong turn. And that, of course, does happen. So people get lost when they lag behind. They also can get lost when they run ahead. Anyone who runs ahead and does not continue in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Whoever continues in the teaching has both the Father and the Son. So pretty straightforward. If you're still in the basic teaching of the Christian life, you're fine. You're good. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not take them into your house or welcome them. Anyone who welcomes them shares in their wicked work. That doesn't sound very Christian. Aren't we supposed to be hospitable? Aren't we supposed to be careful? We might be entertaining angels unawares.
Yes, but if you had Joel Osteen in our pulpit, I would have a big problem with you. If Joel Osteen came to my church and sat in the pew, that would be okay.
Okay. So what are you saying, Alice? What would be the difference?
You would be giving voice to someone who we have heard give false teaching.
Okay, but how does taking them into your house give them voice?
Our church is our house.
Well, okay. So if, this is pretty important, if the lady is the church, then yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? If the lady is the church, don't let the false teachers into your church. But there's also the concept of hospitality, whereby preachers in those days would stay at people's homes, and they would therefore provide for them lodging and food, so that they wouldn't have those expenses, and then they could be freed up to do the ministry of the gospel. And if you were doing that to someone who's teaching something false, then you are aiding and abetting the false teachers, right? So that's what he's saying. If you're actually helping them do their work, then you're barking up the wrong tree. Like I said, we almost had a cult join our church here, use our church building, because I didn't recognize who they were. So they said they're from the Church of Christ. I said, oh, good, the Church of Christ. I know them. They had a building on the south side, blah, blah, blah. And then I think 2 or 3 days later, it came back to my mind. I said, wait a minute, those guys are Filipinos. The Filipino Church of Christ in Filipino, Iglesia de Cristo, is a cult. Okay. So I was just about to phone them back, and they had canceled. And then when they asked to use it, no, the pandemic. So then we were okay. But, I do know that they are false teachers. So I will not, anybody who actively preaches against the gospel doesn't get to use our church building. If people are neutral, they're just doing something neutral, like sowing, doesn't make any difference. But if there's preaching involved that is contrary, then we have a problem. So that would have been, albeit by accident, me aiding and abetting a cult, which I don't want to do. But that's almost happened.
Well, there's so many of them now. You got to be so careful.
Yeah, I mean, our bottom line would still be adhering to the Apostles' Creed. If you adhere to the Apostles' Creed, we're good to go. But they can't do that. So neither can the Mormons, neither can the JWs, neither can the Muslims. So that's that. So he's really saying, listen, don't participate in these false teachers. He starts the letter off by saying, I'm seeing that your children find some of your children walking in the truth. So who knows if that means that there were some that didn't? Probably does. But he wants to encourage those who are sticking with it. but at the same time, don't participate in welcoming those who are doing false teaching, because all you're doing is helping them do their ministry, or their, anti-ministry, the anti-Christ work. And we don't want to do that. All right.
So can I ask a question?
No, of course you can.
Verse 8. Watch yourselves so that you do not lose what we have worked for.
All right.
How serious a threat is that?
Well, it's a threat that you lose track of the gospel. You lose the progress that the gospel has made. It's not about personal salvation. It's about the work of the church. You know, it's pretty easy for a church to dismantle if they stop preaching the gospel. And we've seen that in history. As soon as the church removes the gospel from their message, then the church themselves start falling apart.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Again, assuming he's talking about the church, right? We don't want the church to lose what they've worked for, what we've gotten so far. It's basically a progress. You don't want to lose your progress.
Well, and even if it was written to a lady, if she had a ministry of hospitality, she would have worked for that too.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
It would still apply.
Yep. I have much to write to you, but I do not want to use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to visit you and talk with you face to face, so that our joy may be complete. Something about meeting face to face. Like it's a godly desire to want to meet face to face, is what I'm saying. It's godly to say, hey, we need to meet in person because that's the best way to communicate, period, end of story. And we're doing almost face to face right now. I can almost touch you guys. Yeah, just about, but not quite. When you come back, I'll start doing this to your face and you'll know why. No, I'm just kidding. The children of your sister who is chosen by God send their greetings. Okay, so here it muddies the water. It's like, okay, what? It's okay. The children of your sister who is chosen by God send their greetings. Okay, so another sister church? Could be. Or is there an actual sister? So there you go. John, as we know, John not only talks in circles, he also talks in cryptic language, and he also talks sometimes even in riddles. So he's using very much illustrative or visual language, which he does all the time. So anyways, that's 2 John. Now let's go to 3rd. Thankfully to this one, we got a real person to talk, for sure, a real person. So once again, he starts off, the elder, to my dear friend Gaius, whom I love in the truth. Again, the truth, a very key element to these letters. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. It gave me great joy when some believers came and testified about your faithfulness to the truth, telling how you continue to walk in it. Okay, so very same picture as he used in the previous letter. Walking in obedience, walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. So there's another hint that the previous letter is about a church, not a person, because he's referring to them as children. All right, anyways. Dear friend, you are faithful in what you are doing for the brothers and sisters, even though they are strangers to you. They have told the church about your love. Please send them on their way in a manner that honors God. It was for the sake of the name that they went out, receiving no help from the pagans. We ought therefore to show hospitality to such people so that we may work together for the truth. Okay, so here's the exact opposite advice now. Previous advice, don't show hospitality to the false teachers. This one, make sure you show hospitality to the true preachers. Why? Because it aids in their ministry for the sake of Jesus. So that's pretty straightforward. Just, make sure you show hospitality to those who are coming through. I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first, will not welcome us. So when I come, I will call attention to what he is doing, spreading malicious nonsense about us. Not satisfied with that, he even refuses to welcome other believers. He also stops those who want to do so and puts them out of the church. Okay, so now he identifies a bad guy. This particular guy has been causing problems in the church. And here he says, just so you know, you guys are doing great. you're showing hospitality to those who are coming through, but there's a guy who's trying not to show hospitality. There's a guy who's trying to subvert the message that we brought, and you need to know that he's trouble.
Sounds a bit like Corinthians that we just finished.
Yeah, for sure. There's this element of somebody trying to cause problems, but he's being pretty blunt. Calls them by name, and says he's trying to put people out of the church. And by inference, you can say that no, you should be putting him out of the church, right? It's the troublemaker guy. That it's his way or the highway, right? He wants to be first. So, yeah. That's interesting. Dear friend, verse 11, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. So don't imitate this guy. Anyone who does what is good is from God. Anyone who does what is evil has not seen God. Demetrius is well spoken of by everyone, even by the truth itself. We also speak well of him, and you know that our testimony is true. All right, so who's Demetrius? He's a good guy. Who is he? My version did not put a paragraph till verse 13. So 11 to 12 is one paragraph. The translators there assume that they're talking about someone who is imitating God, and he's just maybe using him as an example.
Well, have we encountered Demetrius elsewhere in the Bible?
I don't think we do.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we do. That's what Dima's named after, by the way. Well, here comes Google. I'm pretty sure it's not anywhere else in the Bible. Oh, the name means belonging to corn. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't think we see him anywhere else. At least I can't think of it. Maybe I'll ask Dima on Sunday. He'll know. All right. I have much to write to you, but I do not want to do so with pen and ink. I hope to see you soon, and we'll talk face to face. Again, same thing. Peace to you. The friends here send their greetings. Greet the friends there by name. Okay. So again, the previous book said your sister's kids say hello. Here he says the people, the friends send their greetings. So again, I think leads a little bit more credence to the fact that he's talking about a church in second Peter. So John again doesn't mind calling people out, doesn't mind referring to people by name who are causing problems, and doesn't mind saying, hey, we need to keep the basics. And if you're not following the truth, if you're not walking in the truth, if people are coming along and changing what they say is the truth, you need to stand firm. Do not imitate what they do. Dear friend, 11, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. Anyone who does as good as comes from God. Anyone who does evil is not from God. Pretty straightforward. So keep track of what those guys are doing who are trying to come in and teach, and make sure that they're on the up and up. And if they are good, give them hospitality. If they are preaching anti-Messiah messages, anti-Christ messages, don't support their ministry. The end. Hospitality is huge. Like, hospitality is massive. When we can do that, it's always a blessing. But at the same time, it's also a tool. It's a tool for the kingdom. And if we aren't careful, we can sometimes be accidentally not just entertaining angels unawares, but accidentally entertaining antichrists unawares. Which, by the way, for churches, like traveling evangelists were, huge, and they were a massive, thing that churches were using, especially back even like 80, 90 years ago. My grandparents got saved with traveling evangelists. Crusades were pretty common, but yet, every time you had a traveling evangelist or some sort of speaker come to your church, there was always the risk that they were perhaps off base, and you wouldn't know it until they opened their mouth, right? So there was always a little bit of risk because you don't know those people. So that's why it's nice to know and get, verified messages and stuff like that. But back in the 40, 50 years ago, it was, if somebody came through and you said yes, you couldn't really, what's the word? When you vet somebody, you couldn't really vet them. So
why has that stopped traveling evangelists? Because I can remember, and I'm sure Alice does too, Swift Current had, he was associated with Billy Graham.
Well, Barrymore came through, did he not? And then,
yeah, and I think there was a guy by the name of White.
Oh yeah.
And then there were twins that came through.
The Soterra twins, yeah.
Yes.
And they were all through Canadian Revival Fellowship, and but even those guys, they were pretty solid. But every once in a while, they would sort of go off on their own little tangents, and so you would sort of.
But why aren't there traveling evangelists today?
A couple of reasons. I think part of it is that people began to say, you know what, we need to sort of really foster our own homegrown stuff so that we know who is teaching and preaching. And the second thing is because it's just the economics of it. It becomes very expensive. But Billy Graham, Ravi Zacharias, who just passed away, Ravi Zacharias was also essentially a traveling evangelist / apologist. But it takes a fair bit of economy to run those ministries. But again, there's also just the times where it goes sideways on you, and you really can't control it, and it becomes a problem. So that would happen once in a while. Of course, back in the Bible days, the early preachers pretty much were all coming and going on a regular basis, traveling. And you can see it causes huge problems in Corinth. It causes huge problems in the books of John.
Yeah.
Denominations are handy in that what they do is they have a built-in system of accountability, right? So that's kind of nice. So if I get another preacher who's from our same denomination, I'm pretty much guaranteed I know exactly, that it's going to be fine. So denominations are handy that way because they allow you to make sure that you've got sort of a system of orthodoxy. But otherwise, yeah, like even concerts and stuff. Like if a concert comes through, every once in a while somebody's a little weird in something, and they start talking between songs, and before you know it, you're cringing a little bit. So.
Yeah. So how does the conference keep track of what you're teaching, for example?
They don't necessarily keep track of what you're teaching. They just will vet you during the licensing process, and then in more in-depth in the ordination process. Once you're ordained, then there's really not an official process other than the area minister coming and visiting, and of course church folks, if there's concerns, raising questions, that would be the feedback method for the most part. Well, of course, nowadays they can watch. So our executive ministers and area ministers are able to watch 2 or 3 services a day now, just by going online. They always could watch ours, but not every church did that, but most of them are now. So, But again, they're not doing that to police. They're doing that to encourage. But the ordination process is huge in that.
But people can go off. I mean, people have gone
they do.
off.
Yeah.
Rails.
Yeah. And of course, the old days, the reports would come in from the church people. It would be, and then that would initiate an investigation.
So that's the procedure then. Like if we had spoken to you and the board, then the next step would be to contact the conference.
Yep. And okay. I mean, you can also look, there's general statements of theology with the Canadian Baptists. They're not super rigid, but they've got, some basic tenets of faith and stuff like that. Because Baptists don't like writing things down. That's one of their historical. They always are open to new light, but nevertheless, there's some pretty standard things. If somebody varied or changed it from those protocols or theology in one direction too far, the steps are pretty clear as far as how that is resolved.
Okay, well, I just know somebody who's going not in Swift Current they're going through a difficult church experience. So I was just curious.
Yeah, 99%. Okay, I won't say that. Let's say 90% of the time, it's not a theological problem. It's a personality problem, or well, I mean, those are still theological problems, or a discipline problem, or a sin problem. When it comes down to actually preaching a false gospel, that doesn't happen very often, but it can. It did here. So that's that. So seeing what the ladies have done through. Wandering around. That's what they're doing.
Those two are hard workers.
No, they're often at it. They're wonderful. Bert too. Bert's been working on a couple of our adjustments here to put out the sanitary liquid stuff, whatever that's called, on a stand, and then our offering box is mounted to the wall in the foyer, just like the old temple.
That's cool.
Just like the old days. Of course, the temple had a box for everything, right? So I said we should put a box out there for Pastor Joel's trip to Hawaii as well. Kind of things. Didn't go over very well at the board meeting. Marie's trip to nowhere, because no one's going anywhere these days.
Nope, I was going to go and it got all canceled.
My. All right. Well, I
You
think
hadn't
we're,
paid for anything yet, had you?
What?
You hadn't paid for anything yet, had you?
Oh yeah, it was all paid for.
Oh, really?
We were supposed to fly out on this Saturday. Three of us ladies were celebrating the same birthday.
Where were
We
you
were
going?
going to PEI. We were going to, and Alice knows one of the ladies. I think maybe both of them. Is this open to everybody? Like
It's
if I
still on
say
YouTube,
names?
but I